Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Inner Views. And today I'm very excited to introduce you to Veronica Olivier. She's a fabulous mixed media artist, and I'm going to leave it to her to tell you a little bit more about what she does. So over to you, Veronica.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Melanie, for having me and hosting me. It is always an honor to chat with you. So I have a long version and a condensed version because my life has been a roller coaster ride of absolutely amazing experiences that I've had all over my life. The one thing, though, is that I only started working as a full-time artist about 6 years ago. I was born creative. I was born with the ability to make beautiful things, but life happens, and certain things, certain paths that you are put on is not what you intend. And I had to raise my kids for 13 years myself. So I had to work because there's no guarantee for an artist, on a fixed income. So I did that, and I was fortunate enough and blessed to meet the love of my life in 2005. And because of his support and his love and his care, I came to a place where I could finally resign from a corporate job and fulfill my dreams and just do what I want to do. So when I started out wanting to become a full-time artist, of course, I had art in school, but I lost track of the art world, if you can call it that. And I really didn't know what the trends were. And I was a property manager. I managed big shopping malls. I was really in a corporate environment. But I also knew deep down in my heart that I wasn't happy because I did the job for an income to look after my kids. But to fulfill my dreams, I had to do something that let out all this creativity that I have. I'm truly blessed, and I don't really want to say this because I'm so afraid that I'm going to lose this ability, but I'm artistic and I'm creative and I'm innovative. And sometimes it feels like my mind is just driving me crazy. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I've got all these ideas and I'm so tired because my mind was so busy during the night. And, I often say, not often because I'm scared to say it out aloud, but I often think, my mind just be quiet for one day? But I'm so afraid that I'm going to lose this ability of being creative. But anyway, to get back to the point is when I decided to become a full-time artist, I decided to take a full year just for myself and do online courses and get engaged on social media, join communities.
Sorry to interrupt you here, but which online courses did you take?
Oh, I did many. I did several simultaneously. I did Lifebook by Tamara Laporte. I did Kelly Ray Roberts. I did 3 of her courses. I did 3 or 4 Lifebook courses. I also did some of the other courses Tamara offered. Cara Bullock. I did Let's Face It. So it's all online mixed media courses. And that is when I fell in love with mixed media, because back in the days when I was in school, I was a portrait artist. I also sketched and painted wildlife. In South Africa, you go through that phase where everything you make is wildlife and animals and animal print. So, and I love to paint with oil paints and oil pastels. And then I discovered mixed media, and I realized that is my niche. That is who I am. Because I've got all this creativity, I need to be able to work with multiple mediums to release all of that.
Yes.
You know, when I started getting involved in online selling and engaging with groups, joining groups, you know, you get many people that comment and say, are you an artist? Aren't you an artist? What defines you as an artist? What type of artist are you? A portrait artist or a landscape artist? And once, when I was in that process of defining my role as an artist, someone right here in our town, an artist, told me that you will never be regarded as an artist if you don't stick to the same medium, the same genre, and paint the same stuff. If you want to make it in the real art world, you have to do that.
And
I was dumbstruck.
never's quite a final word.
I was
Never.
dumbstruck. I sat there and I realized, well, then I'm not going to be an artist because I can't. I need change. You know, somebody just posted a message for me and tell me that she saw I changed my kitchen again. I mean, literally, I change my kitchen every 2 years. And she asked me, what do I do with all the decor and all the beautiful things I make? And I told her I need that change in my life. So I need to create what I feel like creating when I wake up. Of course, when you do commission work, you have to work in that medium. And I can force myself to do that. And it's not that I'm unhappy, but I need the freedom to be who I am. And who I am is this whole bundle of creativity, innovation, artistic skills, and I need to feel the right method to bring it out. So if I feel like sculpting, you can see behind me, I mainly sculpt with textiles. I'm also an avid recycler. So I, you know, stand up for saving the planet and sustainability and things like that. And I use a lot of recycled items. And I found that my sculptures is really unique. Nobody knows how I make them. Nobody knows what the process is. So although, you know, they try to replicate it, they can't, because there's a whole lot of mixed media processes going on in there. And I wouldn't have been able to do this if I didn't go through that whole phase of doing mixed media. I mean, I did everything. Mixed media faces, mixed media animals, mixed media backgrounds. I did everything. But just to get back to what that artist told me, is that I was dumbstruck. I thought, okay, well, then I can't be an artist. But then I was looking for another course online, and it was actually a university course. And the course was called multidisciplinary art. And I looked at the definition and I saw that is exactly what I'm doing. I jump from one discipline to the other discipline. Sometimes I combine the disciplines. And so I defined myself as a multidisciplinary mixed media artist. And I posted it online, and so many of my art friends resonated with that. They were so happy because they felt like I did. Didn't know that, am I an artist or not? Because I jump from one thing to another thing, and I do so many things at the same time. But yes, so I got involved. I'm a full-time artist now. I sell most of my artwork online, overseas, mostly in the States, some in Australia. I've got Canadian clients. And then, of course, also England and Europe. I also do online courses, only when, you know, a host, somebody like Tamara or Cara Bullock will approach me and ask me if I would like to, you know, do a course. And I enjoy it. I love it. I love my life. I am so happy.
That's such a wonderful transformation story. I love it, because you've described how you went from being in a place where you were doing something that felt very uncomfortable to you, where you're now living a life that comes very naturally to you.
Yes,
and I
absolutely.
think that's a magnificent transformation. How are your kids enjoying it?
My children, of course, they are grown up now, but they had an amazing childhood, because although I worked in a corporate environment, at home, I still lived out my creativity. Although I didn't make physical artwork, I decorated my house, I baked cakes, I cooked food, I made clothes. So my daughter is a pastry chef. She makes the most amazing cakes. And I think some of my creativity and innovation, you can see that in them today. My son has been innovative all his life. He's in the IT industry, but he's also very creative and very artistic. But they had an amazing childhood because they were surrounded by books and music and color and paint and good food. And, so yeah, they think I'm a little bit cuckoo.
Are
but
they
love it. And my granddaughters, they love it.
Okay. Are they happy to see your transformation?
Yes, no, me too. I'm a different person than what I was 30 years ago. A completely different person.
Okay. So if there's somebody watching us now who is afraid to make the change, what advice would you give to them?
I know it's difficult. It took me a long time to, because I already got married and I still stayed in corporate. I just moved from managing big shopping malls to, I worked for the SOS Children's Villages, to a charity organization. But it took me a long time to be brave enough to let go of my salary. I mean, not everybody can do it.
Yes.
Honestly, I see on my Facebook stream so many people dream of the life that I'm living, and they talk about it. They say, I wish I was you. I wish I could do this, but I have to look after my kids. I have to work. And I understand because I went through all of that. And it's so nice for me to be able to share this because people look at you, they meet you for the first time and they think you are so lucky. And this is not luck. Yes. It's not luck. A lot of it is God's favor upon me, but I worked really hard to get to this point. And I was just one day, I wasn't brave enough. Actually, my boss made me so angry. He really said some terrible things to me, and I just stood up and I said, I'm gone. Goodbye. I resigned. And I think that was a result. I didn't do it in a very nice way, but I think it was a result of all this creativity inside me that was suppressed. The real me that just needed to get out there. And yes, I got home and I told my husband I resigned. And he said to me, what are you going to do? So at that stage, I wasn't brave enough to do art full time. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't really think about doing art full time because, I had a whole life of corporate working in shopping malls. And while I was doing that, I worked in direct marketing. So I sold the plastics, I sold the makeup, everything, just to look after my kids. And at that time, I wanted to do, the idea I came up with is also very creative, but it was something that I was familiar with. It's something that I knew. So I started my own cosmetics company. And it was called Spirit of Africa. And I exported the whole Africa. And it was really great to go through that whole process of developing the company and doing the marketing things and going on road shows to Lesotho and Botswana and Swaziland and Namibia. And it was absolutely amazing until it got to a point where it became stagnant, where it just became orders and dispatch, orders and dispatch. So that whole creativity of the business side was gone because now I made good money. I'm not going to lie to you. I worked from home with one employee and I made good money. My bookkeeper at that stage said to me, you can't believe that somebody can create an international cosmetics company from home with one employee. But I said to him, but that was good for me. It was good experience. It was also great learning. because everything that I've done throughout my life, whether it was working at the charity or working in property or running that business, everything prepared me for what I'm doing today. So I'm actually replicating or duplicating or using what I've learned from those experiences, and I channel it into my creative business. The only thing is that now I have an opportunity to be me, to do. So I sold that business for profit to one of my Zimbabwean agents. And yes, I took the bold step. And like I said, the first thing is I did, that training for the full year. I didn't jump blindly into the pool. I did that, and throughout that year that I did those online courses, I built up communities. I made friendships in the art world on Facebook. I joined Facebook groups with creative communities like your groups.
Yes.
And you make a lot of Facebook friends, and you start out with having 300 friends on Facebook to 4,000.
Yes.
And once you reach a point where you have all these amazing creatives that surround you and support you and, love your work and share your work, you start getting invitations to do online courses, or you start being invited to sell your art in a Facebook group on an art auction. And yes, so it took about 4 years to build up where I am today. But the thing is, I'm not saying, resign from your job and just jump into doing what you love, whether it's being an artist or sewing or baking cakes or whatever. Do your research. I mean, I would never have done this if I didn't have the support of my husband. But at one stage in your life, you should ask yourself, is what I'm doing and the money that I'm making worth it? I mean, I'm earning much less now being an artist than what I earned having a cosmetics company, and that was like 10 years ago.
Yes, I was wondering about that. Are you missing the money? Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy, so, and I'm thankful. I'm surrounded by such a fabulous tribe of creative women and even clients, customers. And, if they can't buy from me at a certain point, they share my posts, or they like it, or they comment it, and that results to another person seeing it. So, but I wouldn't trade what I'm doing now for anything.
That's so inspiring. That's such an inspiring story. I'm sure that the people who are watching are going, oh, this is amazing. Because you're helping to almost kind of plot a course for people who don't know which way to go. Plan your route, do your research, understand it's a process. It's okay to do something else in between while you're getting all your ducks in a row, and just keep your eyes on that end goal. You'll get there.
Yes. I always say that if I wasn't an artist, I would have loved to be a motivational speaker, because one thing that is woven into my genetics, into who I am, I'm an empath. Okay, so I think most creatives are. I resonate with people and with how they feel and what they feel and certain experiences. And one thing that I love to do is to uplift people and motivate them. And that gives me an absolute thrill. If I can do something for someone and it makes their life better. When we moved to Heidelberg from Pretoria, we lived here for about a month. Then my neighbor introduced me to a lady in town who runs a daycare center for young adults with disabilities. And she asked me if I could volunteer art classes. So for about 8 years, every Tuesday, I went to that center and taught an art class. And I cannot tell you how much I miss that, because they got to a stage where they had to employ a full-time artist. or a full-time art teacher. And I wasn't able to do that anymore. So I moved on to doing other things. I make online art videos for Dala, which is a South African art supply manufacturer. And we do those videos for free. They don't pay me. I do it for free. They send me the stock and I do it for free, because that is kind of like a partnership between us to do something and give back to the community. So instead of doing the art classes here, I post it online on YouTube and they share it. So that is because they're also a very community-driven company, and they like to help people. I absolutely love the people at Dala, and they might
Is
kind
Alan still there?
And yes, so we work together. I haven't created a video in a long time for them because I just got so busy over the last year. And when COVID, that was chaos in the world. But I still do one of the features on behalf of Dala for the South African Artist magazine. So it's a monthly feature. It's a student feature where I do a step-by-step project for students, for scholars. So I absolutely love it. I just wish I had more time to do that. But yes, that's what makes me happy, is doing what I do and helping people.
Oh, that's so wonderful. What a lovely story. So I'm just curious, is Alan still with Dala?
Yes, I think so.
That's amazing.
Well, I haven't spoken to them in since COVID, but I speak to Dimpo, which is the marketing the marketing lady. So I speak to her a lot, and sometimes I converse with Kevin through Facebook posts and things like that.
Yes.
But I think Alan is still there. Yeah, I haven't heard that he left.
It's an amazing business. It's an amazing business. I used to chat with Alan every year at Hobby X, and I was always fascinated at the success of the business, and also how Kevin managed to attract such amazing people in and keep them.
One thing. This is probably not related, but it's a funny story. When I started working in mixed media, now when you do mixed media, you use a lot of products. I did courses by Kelly Ray Roberts and by Tamara, and of course they're all in the States and in England, and they use products that we couldn't get. Well, at that stage it wasn't available in South Africa. I went to art shops and asked for an all pencil, and they looked at me like, what's that? So, and that's when my innovative part kicked in, because I started making my own alcohol inks. I started making my own stencils and so art mediums and paints. I started mixing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's a disaster, but most of the times I create something magnificent with it. And so one of the things that you use a lot when you're a mixed media artist is gel medium. So when I did my first course with Kelly Ray Roberts, I went and I sourced all the right brands, golden this and what that and what that. And the thing is, I love to work with my hands. So in mixed media, you paste with your hands, you collage with your hands. And I really got annoyed with the glue the gel medium sticking to my hands. So I tried a couple of brands. I ended up at a big art store in Johannesburg who manufactured their own gel medium. I bought 5 liters and it just didn't want to dry. So I was so upset. And I walked into a big retail store, and way at the bottom, I saw a pot of Dala gel medium. Now, everybody that knows me here in South Africa and abroad knows that I am a Dala gel medium ambassador. I bought that little pot, and I can honestly tell you, and people can challenge me on this, there is nothing like it. Nothing. No other brand of gel medium can compare to it. Because you literally work with your hands, and you can take a wet wipe and you can just wipe it off. Wow. And no glue sticks to your hands.
That's amazing.
So, and I think that is how, I started using their products, and that's how I connected with them, is through the gel medium, and of course the reality TV show I was on.
Yes.
So that's how we connected, and that's how we build a relationship. And we've had a relationship since 2018, so it's absolutely amazing.
That's awesome. So tell us about your reality TV show.
In 2018, I was on CakeNet. Can I say the name of the program?
Absolutely.
Okay. I was on Kunstvlei.
Yes.
And I was one of the 10 contestants. And yes, it's a reality craft TV show, a local one produced here in South Africa. And we did challenges in every episode, you know, and was eliminated as we go along. So that was really a challenge, because as creative as you are, or artistic as you are, when you have to do something in 2 hours,
yes,
it's a different story.
With the camera on you, never mind.
Yes. No, not just the camera on you. There's a cameraman this side. There's
yes.
one from the bottom.
Yes.
There's, you know, it's like everywhere.
Yes.
But I think it's the time limit, and the fact that you are mic'd the whole time. So you can't go to the bathroom. You are nervous. You don't want to eat before the time or drink because you're scared that right in the middle of the show you will have to go to the bathroom. So there's so many factors, and I promise you, I always thought that with reality shows, I always thought that the crying and the fighting and things like that are make-believe, you know, that the producers, you know, sort of like entice the people to fight or to cry. It's not true. It's real. I promise you, it's real, because it's that build up of anxiety and excitement, very little sleep because your brain doesn't stop at night, because you continue to think, what are we going to do tomorrow? So, you know, when I got to episode 11, that was I was fourth in the show. So that was episode 11. That morning I woke up. I haven't eaten for a couple of days because the menu was really rich, and I was too afraid to touch anything. So I woke up, and at that stage, my second youngest sister also had cancer, and my mom called me that morning, and she cried, and my mother doesn't cry. So she cried, and she was afraid for my sister. And I also spoke to my sister, and she cried. And she said she doesn't want to die because she's got young children. So when I walked onto the floor, I already had all these emotions. Like I said, I'm an empath. So I take everybody's emotions onto myself.
In your shoes, I would have felt so terrible.
So when we got to the floor, we stood there, and all we saw on the tables was these light boxes, or these display boxes. And my mind just started working and thinking, I'm going to make something for my sister today. I'm going to make it in her honor and dedicate it to her. So I didn't listen to the judges. You know, while they were talking, my mind just scouted the shelves of what I'm going to use and what I'm going to do. So I was eliminated because of a technical mistake, not because I honestly promise you that day my box was the prettiest. But I didn't do something right, and that's how I was eliminated.
You missed the brief.
To be honest with you, sorry?
You missed the brief. Relief. Yes.
Oh, yes, I missed it. Yeah, because what it said is to use 3 different techniques inside your box.
Yes.
But it was actually meant to be on the back, in the background, and then make 3 things to put in the box. So I used those techniques, but I used it on my element, you know, on the things that I created, because in my mind it was inside my box, but it should have been on the background, on the back wall of the box.
Yes.
But to be honest with you, you know, of course I was sad. I mean, I really wanted to win, but when I realized that this is the end, I'm going home, I was relieved, because all that build up, all that stress, everything just, sort of like drained out of me. And of course, I cried all the way home, and I drove back to Heidelberg in a massive rainstorm. But when I got home, I was relieved. And I didn't walk away with nothing. I mean, my dollar relationship came out of that show. I walked away with a lot of prizes. I think my prizes was almost like 20,000 Rand, to the value of 20,000 Rand. And of course, my relationship with Bernie and Michelle, with our other business, is also a result of me being on that show. So I never see that as a lose. I never see that experience as, oh, I didn't make it, I wasn't first. For me, I won big time being on that show. Oh yes, I was also published in the Artist magazine because of that show.
Wow. So for me, what's really precious about the story is that on the day, you elect to go to your heart.
Yes.
And tell your authentic story.
Yes.
And put aside the money, the brief, the winning, to be who you are.
I think in every challenge, I put out who I am, because I am an artist. First and foremost, no matter how creative I am and innovative and things that I can make, I am an artist. So in this one challenge, we had to make a baby mobile. And, I made a very innovative and creative little basket with a teddy bear, with bells that's interactive, with pieces of glass that can reflect on the walls for the baby to see. But instead of making the bunny with felt, which is a craft material, I opted to run to the canvas roll and get canvas and stitch it into a bunny and stuff it with, we didn't have stuffing on that show, but I stuffed it with like the dirty cloths that we used to wipe the desk. I stuffed it with that, and then I painted like an artist on the bunny. So I think if I just went the creative route, maybe I would have, been better in that challenge. But my mind kept on thinking like an artist all the time, and it is a craft show.
Yes.
But that's me. That is who I am, So I couldn't change that. I couldn't force myself. I just couldn't, and no disrespect to anybody on that show, but I just couldn't use googly eyes and blingy stuff, because that's not me, So so with my puppets, I made beautiful puppets, but they look very artistic, and it's a craft show, so I learned a lot from that experience.
Yes. So this conversation about the difference between art and craft, do you feel that the definitions are real? Because for me, in my mind, we're all artists, and you can't draw a line between where the one stops and the other starts, because there are so many people straddling that line.
Yes, for me personally, I struggle with that because, like I said, I'm a crafter and an artist. I can, a crafter for me is somebody, for instance, that does woodworking, that go onto a turning bench and make beautiful tables and things like that. But I do that as well, and I incorporate it into my paintings and things like that. So yes, for me specifically as well, I struggle to, because there's such a thin line between it, I know there's specific dictionary meanings or descriptions for a crafter is that, and an artist is that. There's, I think one of the most explanatory things that I read is that a crafter is somebody that uses tools and sets out, like when you set out a pattern to make a dress, you lay out your pattern, you cut it out, and you choose your fabrics and you stitch it together. Whereas an artist is somebody that would take that same fabric and do this with it, something like that comes naturally. When I did my first sculpture, I didn't sit and draw patterns and think I was going to do this or do that. And I think the artist is more the feeling that comes out, where a crafter is more the technical and the ability to set up a plan and things like that. But for me, I have this bad habit of buying fabrics as well. You know, I've collected a whole room of fabrics over 20 years. Even when I didn't do art, I couldn't walk out of a fabric shop without buying 2 meters or 5 meters or whatever. And I ended up with a whole room of fabrics. And my mom asked me one day, what am I going to do with all this? Why have I got so much? I can literally open a small fabric shop. And I was being funny, and I said to her, I'm just collecting it. And she wasn't, you know, at all amused with my answer. But about 2 years ago, I stood in that same room and I thought to myself, I really, you know, when I started becoming more aware of sustainability and recycling and things like that, I realized that I really needed to do something with that fabric. And I can only change my kitchen and my living room so many times and make so many scatter cushions and so many curtains. So I decided to do textile sculpting. So at that stage, I have seen a couple of textile sculpted artworks online. You know, we've got all these amazing places where we can get inspiration, like Pinterest and things like that. And I got familiar with the term soft sculpting. Now, the majority of soft sculptures live in the United Kingdom. So I think that's probably where it originated, where they make a beautiful, it's almost like a soft toy, but it's just artistic. So it's still soft and stuffed.
Yes.
So I thought to myself, I would love to do this, but there are so many people out there doing it. And at that stage, I was also very conflicted with this whole thing about copyright, you know, about not doing what somebody else is doing and things like that, because that's a whole thing on its own as well. So I was so wary of not, you know, doing something that somebody else is already doing, you know, because I mean, millions of people make a turtle or a bunny. But with soft sculpting, I mean, it's so easy to make something that looks very similar to somebody else, even though the fabric is different.
Yes.
Especially if you buy a pattern.
Yes.
So I decided that I want to do it different. So my sculptures is made with fabric, but they are hard.
Okay.
So, and they're very light. So they are hardened and sealed, and it almost looks like clay or pottery that's painted.
Yes.
So yes, so I started doing that, and I've also evolved. If you have to look at my first bunny and you look at the work I do now, you would think it's two different people. But that's what I love about living a creative life, you know, is that you can do whatever you want.
It sounds like you've really found your groove.
Yes, I think so. I hope so. But to be honest with you, although I do this for a living, my main source of income comes from the textile sculpting. Like I said, I don't like to do the same thing all the time. I really have an urge inside me to paint, or today to paint with oil paint, or tomorrow to work with watercolors. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret. That was my biggest advantage on that reality show, is that my knowledge of product was priceless. I mean, the other contestants came to me and asked me, what do you use this for? What do you use that for? And, you know, empathetic me told them everything, but that's okay, you know. So I have this, this amazing group of art friends online. It's an art group, a community where you can sell your art online, and they invite artists, guest artists, to sell monthly as well. Now, I'm a core resident artist, so I can sell every month, and they have themes for the whole year. Now, I absolutely love that, because they give you a theme and they challenge you, you know. So my artwork from 1 month to the next month varies, whereas some of the other core artists who just will paint in that theme. I would like the current one is an oceans theme, so I made sculptures of seahorses and octopus and things like that. But the previous one was shadow and light, and I missed painting. So for that event, they allow me to do this. For that event, I painted with watercolors, almost like in an illustrative story art kind of style, because I love that. I love that too. And yes, so that event gave me the opportunity to release that tension that was building up. I had this urge to paint with watercolors because I recently discovered that I'm really good with watercolors. I hated it in school. But yes, so and our next theme is quite challenging. It's black and white. So
Okay.
I'm thinking of picking up my charcoals. I haven't sketched in charcoal for a long time, but I'm thinking of, and I'm also being innovative because I combine it with my textiles. So
Yes.
in December, I made a couple of textile paintings where I stitched the backgrounds, but then I made silhouette canvases of animals and I painted them with watercolors. So I combined watercolor with fabric.
Ah,
And it
lovely.
absolutely looked amazing. I have one that is a layaway. So the person must still make a final payment before I mail it. So can I show it to you quickly?
Please, please, I'd love to see it.
So it's a
Wow.
cow. So the background is fabrics and wallpaper. But then if I can turn it like that, you can see that I made, like the teddy bear on the reality show, I made a canvas with real stretch canvas fabric and I painted with watercolors on it.
That's magnificent. I love that.
So I need to be able to do this. I need to be me. And this group, this auction group with, setting out the themes for the year allows me to do it. And I'm so grateful because I can release that tension of wanting and urging to work with a certain medium whilst I'm creating for, yes, maybe I can announce it here. Can I announce it? I have a secret. Okay. So in the beginning of last year, I was on Kwela. I don't know if you saw that. I was on Kwela and they interviewed me and they did a whole segment about my sculptures. And on the show, I said one of my biggest dreams. I mean, I've exhibited in a group in Melbourne, in Australia before, and I have all these places where I can sell my art. But one of my biggest dreams is to do a solo exhibition in South Africa, in my home country, right here where I was born.
Yeah.
But it's difficult. It's a struggle because the market is so competitive.
Yes.
The art world is a different world, and it is so difficult to break into that world if you don't have formal training. Yes. I mean, and I don't mean it negative in any way, but think of it, when you study art at university level, you get exposed to curators, you get exposed to exhibitions, so you're already in that environment. Yes. But when you haven't done that for 30 years and decide now I'm going to do that, it's difficult. And then of course we live out in the country, which makes it even more difficult. So I said, that's my biggest dream, to have a solo exhibition. So the curator of the National Historic, I must get this title right now, the National Historic Museum Gallery in Potchefstroom. Wow. So it's one of the main galleries that exhibit for art law. Contacted me, and in April I have my first solo exhibition.
Oh, yay! Congratulations.
I'm super nervous because I have to make like 100 pieces, but I am so excited because, it's like you have this dream. And although I live my dream, this is a specific segment of that dream, and it's now becoming a reality. And it is amazing. I cannot explain to you how it feels like, when and the thing is, if people know my story, my whole story of from I was a young person to going through things and going through divorce and looking after my kids by myself and all the things that happened to me, and you look at me where I'm today, you would not believe it. I mean, sometimes I look in the mirror and I think, wow, how did I get here? Because it's so easy to give up when bad things happen to you.
Yes.
But I can honestly say the way my parents raised us, and the support I had from my parents throughout my life helped me to never give up, to never, I'm an artist. We are ruled by emotions. So I sometimes burst out in tears and fall on the bed and say, I'm never going to do this again. I give up. And then 10 minutes later, I get up and I continue. So it's not like I never say I'm giving up, but, I don't allow things that happen to keep me down.
I love that.
And, so if I can use my experiences and my stories just to help somebody lift up and become something or achieve something or do something, then I have achieved my purpose in life.
That's so awesome. Oh, that was such an amazing interview. I see we're getting near the end of our time.
Okay.
You have shared such gems. It is such an inspiring story. I'm really looking forward to sharing it with everybody because I know there are a lot of people out there who kind of sit on that side of the divide, between I want to be this, but I'm stuck here. And I think you've shown us a roadmap. You've inspired us. You've done all the beautiful things that will support those people in their journey. So thank you so much for your generosity to share with us today. I appreciate it so very much.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was lovely to chat with you. And it is absolutely fabulous to be part of your groups as well and to be able to share my artwork and posts in your groups, and for approving all my sales posts in your groups. But that's one thing that I believe in. I just before we started this interview, I watched one of your other talks. I can't remember the lady's name now, but in that segment or that talk show, you spoke about people just talking about themselves and just throwing everything about themselves out there. And it's important to talk about yourselves, but it's also important to uplift people around you and other creatives around you. And so many people ask me, why do you always share other artists' work on your Facebook? Isn't it conflicting interest? Why do you talk about other artists? Don't you shoot yourself in the foot when you do it? Like with the auctions, I share other artists' pieces on my timeline. And I always tell them, that's that old saying, you sow what you reap. Yeah, you sow what you reap. What you put into the community, you always get back. So, and I would never be here, at this place where I am today, if it wasn't for my tribe, if it wasn't for those people who I support, who support me back. We share, we interact, we like, we comment, and that's how you get ahead of everybody else, is because that's just what you have to do. If you just keep everything, I mean, of course, I'm not going to share my secret on how I do my sculpting because that's my livelihood.
Yes.
But I always, share information and share things. And, besides it being the right thing to do, it shows people out there who you are, what type of person you are.
Yes.
And by sharing somebody else's artwork on your Facebook page,
Yes.
they would buy your art, because
Yes.
they realize that you are a good person,
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
It's very interesting that you bring that up. I had a conversation in a WhatsApp group that I left this week where I said, you show who you are by your behavior.
Yes, definitely.
So you are spot on there. You are definitely shining your generous spirit into the world, and your sense of collaboration.
Yes. Okay, so it was nice chatting to you. I still want to come visit you in person. If I can get to that side of the world.
Come visit, come to the Western Cape. We'd love to have you here. It's so beautiful here. I'm sure it'll inspire many, many artistic things to boil out of you if you spend a couple of days here. It would be lovely to have you. Thank you so much for your time, Veronica. I appreciate it so much. And have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.